talk today is a bit more methodological that I usually do. I will talk a little bit about the science, but I'm basically trying to explain how we can reach unprecedented imaging resolution of the bacterial cell wall with AFM. So the focus of my talk is going to be peptidoglycan, or PG, which is the cell wall in the exterior part of the cell envelope of bacteria. And in gram-positive bacteria, it's very thick and it only has the membrane underneath. So it's the very first thing that's on the exterior of the cell. And the data that I'm going to present today is mostly of 𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃 pneumoniae. 𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃 pneumoniae is the pharyngeal pathogen that causes pneumonia, and it has an oval-coccal shape, and it's also a gram-positive bacteria. But as I say, the things I'm going to talk about apply to mostly all gram-positive bacteria. The curious thing about 𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃 pneumoniae, or strep, as I'm going to call it, is that the division that it has is very peculiar. Rather than first putting a septa and then splitting, it does a septa, and at the same time as it elongates on the sides, and it hydrolyzes all at the same time. And then we have all of these different stages of division that we can show you with the different microscopes that we have looked at. So strep pneumonia has been looked at with Bacterial, fluorescence microscopy, storm or super resolution microscopy, and various EM techniques. But the thing that all of these techniques cannot cover is the texture of the cell wall. So we're going to use atomic force microscopy to determine the texture of these bacteria. First, I wanted to give an overview of how do we achieve high resolution on bacteria with AFM. As I say, everything focuses just on gram-positive bacteria, but in general, we have three different types of sample. We can look at 𝗪𝗏𝗃𝗃, or the purified cell wall itself, where we take everything out of the cell and we just look at this thick layer flat on the surface. We can look at boiled cells, which is what most of my talk is going to focus today, or we can look at live cells. Then for the surface, it depends on which sample we have. So for 𝗪𝗏𝗃𝗃, for strep pneumonia, for example, we can use it on polylysine, but for the rest of the bacteria, it's better to use 𝐶ELTAC. And for boiled cells, the same goes. So strep is thin enough that you can attach it with polylysine on mica or glass. But for Staph aureus or Bacillus, we have to use 𝐶ELTAC or other adhesives similar to 𝐶ELTAC. And then for live bacteria, we can use 𝐶ELTAC on mica, or silicon wafers for Staph aureus, and for example, chitosan slides, which I can go more into later in the questions, for Bacillus, fungi cells, or strep to look at live bacteria. But then one of the things that I find is really beautiful is that the common setup on the AFM is basically common for all the samples. So we have been using different probes and techniques depending on the microscope, not on the samples. So for all these three samples, if you use a FastScan probe, if you're using a FastScan AFM or the NanoWizard AFM, that's good. Or the 𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 fluid plus if you're using a multimode. This is because the holder does not fit a FastScan, and also the laser is too big. But then once you have these probes, which are very sharp and it allows you to see a lot of details, you can use the peak force tapping mode if you're using the FastScan, the multimode, or the NanoWizard 5 microscopes. But then you can only use QI if you're using NanoWizard 2 or 3. And then for the parameters, for the peak force, basically the main difference to what I've been reading in the literature is that we use a set point quite high of 1 to 3 nanonewtons. And then rather than scanning fast, like the FastScan name of the microscope, for example, shows, we scan quite low, so a scan rate of 0.5 to 1. That allows us to get the most of our images. And then the peak force frequency is 2 to 4 kilohertz, and the amplitude of the frequency oscillation of the peak force is 80 to 160 nanometers. So you can use these parameters to try to replicate this work in strep or other bacteria. And yeah, I think it is useful to know, and I'm happy if you have more questions later about this. So I also wanted to explain, because I've shown that we use different microscopes. So the difference between a multimode image done with a 𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃 fluid and a FastScan image done with a FastScan. The main difference is that the FastScan tip is much more smaller, and then we can get more details. But in general, we find that the multimode gives us enough resolution to see all the glycan strands that we need to, and just to do our measurements on fiber orientation and pore analysis. So it depends on the application. If we want to see the very tiny pores, then we might need to use the FastScan. But for general overall structure, to see if you have rings or mesh or what sort of fibers you have, you can use the multimode, and that's very useful because most labs do have this sort of machines available to them as well. As I say, I'm going to focus on boiled cells. So what we do is we first grow our Strep pneumonia to OD 0.3, and then we resuspend the cells in PBS, and we boil them at 100 degrees for 30 minutes to kill them. This is something that we started doing because we realized this is anyway the first step that we do to purify the cell wall. And when we use the purified cell wall or the 𝗕𝗂𝗃, the structure doesn't change. So we thought, okay, let's boil it, but don't break it. Let's see if we can see the same structure on a whole cell without the cell moving about if it's live. So this way, the cell is dead and it's very robust. It keeps in the fridge very well. And we can have our micro-coated with polylysin. We put the sample in at a high concentration for 15 minutes, and then we wash, and then we let it dry with nitrogen. And so these cells can be dried and rehydrated several times, and we can image them in air or we can image them in liquid. And this step of drying really helps with the adhesion. And this method has been described in this paper from my collaborators and me from a few years ago. And this way we can see the cell wall on the structure on the top of the cells, on the boiled cells. So the problem is that we're only going to be able to get information from the external structure of the peptide glycan, and this is why we combine this with 𝗕𝗂𝗃 to be able to get information from both the inside and the outside. But my PhD student Nish, which he's a great student. He is in second year, and he has been doing this method with strep, and he already has shown that this is really useful to get very important insights into the cell division. So once you have your bacteria cells on the surface, this is how they look in 3D. And if you zoom in one cell, again, this is all in peak force with the FastScan. You can zoom in and you can see that there is the division site here in the middle. But then Nishan discovers that there is also this other feature, which is a very tiny band that's raised that we didn't know about it before. So if you do a 3D profile, you can see that it is very sharp, and we can measure it with accuracy to 4.5 nanometer wide and 10 nanometer high. So we don't know what this is, but it's very important because it appears mostly in every single cell at the early stages, and it only appears in one side of the cell. So this clearly will tell us something about the biological mechanisms that undergo this division process that we cannot tell with other microscopes. And as he looks at the middle division stage, he can see that it's only on one of the cells and not always, and in the other cell, it doesn't appear there. So then we started realizing, okay, maybe this is something to do with the stage of division and where the new material is located. So we turned